All right, so here we go. So I'm going to attempt to install these. Let me focus this thing. I don't know how to pronounce this. Is it Gully Kit? Gully Kit? I don't know. They are electromagnetic joysticks. They're like, they use magnets instead of brushes and things to track the motion of the joystick. And I think that these might be a good solution if yours are drifting, because these supposedly won't drift because the way they work. I'm just really curious about them. I've heard that they give better dead zone. You can get a better dead zone, smaller. So I'm just curious to do it and thought I'd try it. So a little bit about my background in electronics is very small. I do some LED soldering and some audio connector soldering and things like that. I know a decent amount about that level of electronics, but not anything crazy. So I'm no expert at this. I'm sure I'm going to do this wrong. But from what I understand about the process, it's really not all that hard. So the first thing I'm going to do is remember to take out my SD card. Because, yeah, I don't want to pull a Linus there. I have upgraded my SSD. But that's all the modifications I've done to this. I want to eventually replace the fan as well, but for now we're just going to do this. All right, so I'm just going to start taking out some screws. Got a little magnetic tray here just to kind of keep track of everything. So apparently the hardest part about this is that wire that goes from the capacitive sensor on the thumbstick itself to the circuit board. And I really wish that that had been some sort of plug rather than soldering. I know Valve, when they designed it, they didn't really anticipate, I think, the level of tinkering that people would want to do. Sorry if I get my head in the way of the camera here. It's straight over my head so you guys can see what's going on here. In fact, let me just try the other camera. I've got two cameras here. So maybe you can see a little bit better there. I don't know what I'm doing without getting in the way. So my screwdriver here is pretty awesome. It's not that awesome. It's pretty bad, actually. The magnet broke in it, I guess, and it doesn't hold the bits anymore, and so I had to tape it on here. So stupid. Tried to do this last night. I came up to my office studio and got a bunch of stuff ready, only to find out that I left this box at home, which is kind of you know, important to this process. So here I am today. All right, so I think I've got all the screws out. I've got my SD card out. And now I'm gonna just get my little guitar pick. And I can't remember last time I opened this where it's best to start the attack. I think it's right here at the trigger holes. Let me switch cameras here. I probably should have, I just broke my guitar pick, should have watched a refresher video on this. But, you know, just gonna YOLO it. There we go. Got it cracked there. Go around. And there we go. That's it. Off comes the back. And these are bits of my guitar pick I just cracked. Get those out of the way. All right. Let's see, is that... Get as close as I get with this camera right now. I can actually... zoom in. That's the wrong camera. I can actually go ahead and zoom in here. I'm going to do that on software just a little bit. Make sure we're nice and focused up as much as we can be. Okay, so here's the right stick and the left stick. And I wish, see, what I would love to be able to do is just go at the sticks right now. But the issue is I really should take the battery off. And unfortunately to do that, I have to take this crap off. I really wish that I was able to get at the battery connection without taking this off. That would make this whole thing so much easier. So I guess I'm going to, I don't know, think about YOLOing it and just going for the sticks, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get this thing right here off, my head out of the way. Okay, fold that back. A screwdriver. And this one. Oh shit. I just lost a screw. Well, find that in a minute. Okay, I think that this screwdriver is not the right size. No, it's doing fine. Okay, so here we go. And now that I've got that open, set that off to the side. And pull out the power. There we go. We are disconnected with our power. And so now I can focus on the sticks. So let's start with the right stick. Does that have a latch? Man, I can't remember. It's been too long since I looked at it. Let's look this up. All right, so let's see here. I'm looking at iFixit to find out the steps here. Got those screws out, got the power out. Yep, there's a locking flap. So that's this guy right here. Yep, flip that up right there. I don't know, you guys are not gonna be able to see that. Let's get this a little closer. So that's this little flap right here. I just flip that up and then pull that out. Now I've got this out, and then we're going to take the 3 screws out. Okay, here's that screw I lost earlier. Stick that over there. This screwdriver is really not a good choice for this because it's not magnetic. I should have grabbed another one, but it's what I had at the office. So then, boom, there we go. We've got the joystick out. There it is. There's the back of it. And so the tricky part, from what I understand, is that guy right there. This is the little solder point that I have to desolder and move this to the new one because the old one does not have it. All right, so it does appear that it has some plastic kind of a covering on it, almost like a hot glue or something. I don't know what that is, so I'm gonna have to get that off so I can desolder this. So let's see how we want to do that. Let's move this out of the way for a minute. Okay. Where's my wire cutters? All right, so let's see if I can flake this off. Let me get my other camera. This is better. Oops, I'm knocking stuff down. All right, let's try this. Let's see if that's any better to be able to look at. All right, so, man, that's kind of really tough stuff. Wonder if I can melt that with the soldering iron. It's probably a really bad idea, but I'm gonna try it anyway. Get my soldering iron turned on. Look at this a little bit more. Yeah, it's really on there. I understand why the fox, I don't know how you say his name, ended up cutting that off. Ooh, I'm getting to peel up a little bit there. I don't know if you can see that, but let me switch cameras and focus up here. So I was able to get this to start to peel up a little bit right here. Okay, I got most of it off right there. Right there's most of it. Try to get a little bit more off, but that's probably enough to get it desoldered. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, got the rest of it right there. All right, I think that's all of it. Yeah, nice and clean now. All right, so now we get to do the soldering bit. All right, so like I said, I am no expert solderer, that's for sure. I have done, a decent amount of soldering, but nothing fancy. And so what I'm going to do is just try to solder it and pull it off of there. Desolder it. Okay, so I'm going to get tweezers ready so I can kind of pull it as I get it. So I can put some tension on there just to kind of pull it off as it desolders. And let's see. Oh man, easy as pie. That was so simple. I used nothing but the soldering iron and some tweezers. Pulled that off of there, and you can see, let me switch my other camera. That's not the camera. There's the pad after I got done with it. It's pretty clean, and there's the bit of wire. So now, just need to pull this off of here. It just pulls right off, just like that. So here's the old one. Okay, let me set this here and focus up on it. Zoom in a little bit more. And I'm gonna get the ghillie kit. So that's what it looks like when it opens up. Comes in this little plastic box with some foam in it. Okay, I'm gonna pull out the right one. Set this off to the side and compare the two. There you go, that's what they look like. Both have an R on them. They're both they're in different places, and they've got, of course, the joystick itself looks a little bit different because it's a different technology, but it looks like they kind of try to match the design as much as they could so it'll fit in the same spot as far as where the components are, etc. And so there's the pad I get to solder onto. And yep, so let's put this off to the side. And let's put this on. All right, so it's got kind of a shape. I gotta match. There we go. And then this is gonna solder right onto there. Okay, so I'm gonna get a little bit of solder. And let me see about switching cameras here. Yeah, that's probably my best bet for showing that. Let me make sure I'm focused up as good as I can be. Go with that. All right, so I'll take some solder here. And I'm going to get a little bit on here. This is going to be tough. I always wish I have 3 hands when I'm doing stuff like this. I'm sure there are much better ways of doing this with some kind of rig. Okay, hold on a second. Let's get that solder off of there. And see if I can bend this a little bit more to get it to be closer to the right position. All right, so I think that's pretty close. Just get a little bit of solder on here. I don't think I quite got that. I left most of the solder behind. There we go. That's much better. Okay. Okay. So I think I have one joystick soldered on here. There we go. One thing that worries me a little bit is this right here. I feel like I'm gonna get that caught there, but maybe not. It's probably designed in a way that that's not a problem. All right, so there's my first one. So let's bring the Steam Deck back over here. And I have done a really dumb thing here. Let me zoom out and show you what I've done. I was using my magnetic tray for collecting all my screws until I got to the ones that were for the joystick itself, and I put them up here. And then when I moved it, I tipped this up and totally just dumped them down in the crack of this. So I've got to recover these. That was dumb. All right, so there's only 3 Unfortunately, they are not all the same size. I don't think. Maybe they are. Yeah, I think they are. They are the same size. Let me zoom it out. Let me just get this in the right position. I'll just do that. Sorry if I'm mumbling a bit. I'm not usually on camera. I'm usually behind the camera. You know, I don't present. I capture other people who are presenting. All right, so now this just goes in here. There's little plastic guides, looks like. Yep. Kind of get it to where it's supposed to be. Sorry about my head. It's interesting, I have it sitting face down in the case so that it has a spot to rest flat. But it seems like it keeps pushing it out. Okay, maybe I just didn't have it quite lined up. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my screws back in. I'm going to switch cameras here once I figure out my orientation here. All right, so now I'm just gonna focus up and put those screws in. Let's see here. Boy, this would be a whole lot easier for a magnetic screwdriver, huh? Sorry about the out of focus bit there. I can't really focus and run this at the same time. I'm not really set up for a one-man operation like I'm doing right now. This is not really supposed to be a pro video or anything anyway. This is just some dude doing this to show how hard or how easy this is. I'm just, you know, some guy. It'd be interesting to see the Linus Tech Tips video about this. From what I hear, he's got one coming out that's gonna cover this. He talked about it briefly on a WAN show, and his main takeaway, he really thought they were awesome because he could set the dead zone so small, and in that way was able to get more, you know, kind of, I don't know if you call it accuracy, but more responsiveness. One of his complaints about you playing like first-person shooter or something with joysticks is that whole dead zone thing where you're moving and nothing's happening, and then you're moving too fast because you overcompensated and stuff. And when I play PC games, I play with controller. I have tried the whole mouse and keyboard many times, and I know it's supposed to be better, but I have never had any luck with it at all. I've always struggled mightily, mainly because it kind of hurts my keyboard hand. The mouse hand is fine. I could do it but the keyboard hand I just always have a hard time with. Okay, so this just goes down in there like something or other. Let's see here. There we go. Nice and snug. I saw somebody in the comments of the Reddit post that I posted. I was saying they forgot to plug these in when they got done. So I'm glad I remembered to do that. Okay, so now we're on to the left one. Same kind of stuff for the left. Just rinse and repeat. All right, so we're gonna flip this up. Gonna pull this out. Yeah. Cool. And I think actually the camera actually is better, even though it's not as focused. Try one more time. Focus on this thing. Yeah, it doesn't help that I'm like zooming in a bunch on it. We'll zoom out just a little bit. All right. Anyway, so let's get stuff going. So my Steam Deck, I got this in Q1, kind of towards the end of Q1, I think. This is not actually the one I pre-ordered. I pre-ordered, and a buddy of mine pre-ordered, and a work buddy, and he was just kind of interested in it. He wasn't as like way into it as I was. But his pre-order was before mine, and it was mainly because he ordered after me, but the deal was he got the base model, I think, and I got the middle one. And I think that the high end and the middle one were the ones that people pre-ordered so much of. And so he ended up being Q1 and I was Q2. And so he wasn't like super excited. He was excited about getting it, whatever, but he wasn't like on Reddit, you know, discussing all the things and all the stuff. He was more of a casual fan of it. So he said, "Hey, you know what? When my pre-order comes in, you can, you know, pay for mine, and I will wait for yours to come in." And I was like, "Dude, that's awesome." And so I did. And so I got mine, and I instantly upgraded it. I put a terabyte SSD in it. And then when mine came along, I went ahead and I basically paid the list price for his, and then I only had him pay me back that same amount, and so he ended up getting the bigger SSD. So that was a whole lot easier this time, but mainly because I kind of knew what I was doing. The second time is much faster. But so he ended up getting a bigger SSD than he ordered for the same price that he ordered, because I just was so grateful for him, what he did to bump me up in the queue. So it worked out well for him. All right, so let's get a little tension on here. Let's get my soldering iron. Boom. We have desolderization. All right, so there was somebody on Reddit trying to get me to use flux, and I've never really used flux because usually the stuff I do is not usually this small. It's usually this would be about the smallest I normally do. Usually it's bigger than this, and it's not a big deal. He had me kind of spooked for a little while, but some other people came on and said, "Yeah, you don't need flux. This is easy. If you've done any soldering at all, this is a piece of cake." So, and they were right. This has been super easy. So I mean, I'd say this is a 1 or a 2 on the scale of soldering. I mean, if you're brand new to soldering, I would, you know, practice a bunch on some other stuff first. So find some dead electronics and try to desolder and solder wires onto it to practice before you get into something like this where you really don't want to Okay, so apparently my camera's been running on battery, and I did not know that. It was not plugged into the wall, and it just ran out of battery. So now we're plugged into the wall. All right, I don't remember what I was saying, but it was something along the lines of practice a bit when you're going to do this, and so long as you feel somewhat comfortable soldering, you'll be fine. This is easy. Okay, so now let's get the next one on. So get this little guy in here. There's a little, this would match the shape of this. This has like a kind of an oblong shape. And so I'm going to, and basically I think the wire away from the soldering thing, so this can wrap around to it, is the method. Okay, and so then let's get this guy bent so it will maybe stay on here a little bit better. Is anybody even watching this? Like one person at a time. But that's cool. If you have any questions about it, just pop in the chat. I'm kind of looking at that as we go, but I did not expect many people to watch this. This is just for fun. So let's see here. Tweezers. All right. Grab my solder. Soldering iron. A little bit of solder on there. Ooh, that was a little too much solder. That was not that's not good. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not good. You generally don't want big globs of solder because the connection isn't always that great. But let's see how I did really. That's a big glob of solder, but I think it's going to be okay. It seems to be on there pretty good, and I'm not going to worry about that. Okay. You can see that one was much faster. I knew what I was doing. I had done it before. Didn't have to figure anything out. And there we go. So we're mostly done here. It's all put it back together and try it out kind of mode. All right. Flip this up. Oh, come on. Yeah, I think I want to screw this in before I try to mess with that. It'd be much easier if I do that. Come on. Man, I wish this was magnetic. I should probably just try and magnetize it real quick. Since I have this big magnet over here. Hey, that's better. So if you find you end up with a screwdriver that is not magnetic, you can temporarily magnetize it by taking a large magnet and just kind of going in one direction for a while, just kind of drag it across there, and it will kind of magnetize that bit. It does wear off pretty quick, but for our purposes, it should be just fine. That's your non-Linus Tech tip. You will not find this screwdriver on lttstore.com. Not now, not ever. This is a Walmart special. Here we go. Nice. And there, clip that down. Ooh, I did not get that screwed down all the way. Got a little bit of movement there. That would not be good. There we go. Check the other one while I'm here. No, that one's fine. All right, so now we get to put our little shield with our zoom this out a little bit more. Little heat shield and what all, I don't know if this is for EM as well or just heat shield or just whatever, but it's got these little pads on it that connect to some of these controllers that keep, oh, whoa, hey, before I do that, how about I plug the battery in? Be a good idea, yeah? There we go, battery is in. That would have been frustrating. All right, I'm kind of lining these holes up as I go to make sure that I'm not dragging those heat pads all around. And let's get some screws back in here. Let's start with this big one. I did just now get a comment that said you made this harder than it should be. Could have just desoldered the glue right away without having to pry it off. Just apply rosin and flux and then melt the entire thing. You can clean and iron up bronze coils. He said, I'm not completely sure about this, but I think you should have applied the flux to the joint and then, so, yeah, okay. So he's talking about flux and all this other stuff. Listen, I get it. If this was a professional job, go for it. Do all this stuff, all the things. I'm an amateur who doesn't use this stuff that much. Yeah, I probably could have melted the glue off and cleaned it all up and everything, but prying it off really wasn't that hard. The first time was a little hard just because I didn't know what was going on. The second time, super easy. Just clipped it right off. Was not a problem. But yeah, like I said, I'm sure that there are better ways of doing these things. But from someone who doesn't really like do this as a major part of their hobby or part of their job, you know, you don't have to stress too much about this. This was pretty easy. Now, if you're going to do more complicated stuff than this, then you should probably either study up and practice and learn how to do these things with flux and stuff like that, or take it to someone who does do this or already have that knowledge. But this stuff, man, this was really easy. I would not worry about it. But appreciate the comment, though. I get that there are, you know, the real ways to do things. And if this was my field, I'd probably be saying the same thing, but it's not. Okay, so let me make sure. So I got all my screws in, I've got my power in. Okay, now it's time to put the case back on. So basically, let's just clip it on here. And start putting some screws in. Start with these middle ones. Oops. So yeah, I think the only other thing I want to do in the short to midterm, is to replace the fan. My fan has the whine to it, and it's really kind of annoying. It's not that bad, and I feel like it's gotten better. I think that the firmware upgrades have really helped the curve for that, but it's still it really depends on how sensitive you are to certain frequencies and that kind of thing. That frequency, for whatever reason, for me, just really irritates me. If I'm in a noisy enough room, it's not too bad, but if it's nice and quiet, I'm sitting in my bed or something and I'm wanting to play a little bit, it drives me crazy. My wife, on the other hand, has some hearing impairment, whereas hearing aids, she can't hear it anyway, so it doesn't bother her. So I'm lucky in that way, but I can kind of do that without it bothering her. Just want to be careful not to over tighten these, just because this is all plastic stuff and I don't want to over stress that. This is probably the third time I've opened this up. I opened it a couple of times while I was doing the SSD, but I haven't opened it a ton of times. Okay, so let's see what she does. I'll put my SD card back in, not that I'm going to use it. The thing I want to do is on the SSD. All right, so I don't remember where the calibration is, so it's going to take me a minute to find. But that was curious. Oh, there we go. It beeped at me this time. Don't seem to see a light coming on. That light is not on. I hope I didn't screw something up. Let me get power supply. Oh, no, it's coming on. Well, I'm going to grab power supply just in case. My screen is filthy. I should have cleaned it. I have a matte screen protector. It is from, something dude, I don't remember what it's from. It's been posted on the Reddit, on the subreddit, and you can see like right here, it doesn't It's hard to see on the camera, but it doesn't really fit because it is exactly the size of the screen, and maybe slightly bigger. But even if it's exactly the size, it's extremely hard to get on there without it bubbling up on the sides. So I have another one. So at some point I'm going to take this off, and before I put the other one, I'm going to cut it down just like a tiny bit on the edges so that it doesn't do that. Okay, so let's go to settings. I don't remember where this is. Oh, here we go. Calibration and exam. Okay, left joysticks. Okay, so this is the number people were referring to. Let me zoom in a little bit here. This number here, people were able to put it down to like 1,000 or less or something. No, I don't remember what they said, but I'm going to okay, so you can see the dead zone is a little bit off there. You can see that like it wants to go up all the time. So let's increase our oops. Okay, so that's really close. Interesting. Okay, so let's reset to default. Let's bring it. Oops. Cancel. There we go. I'm learning how to use this menu. All right, so you press A to get into things. Y tests it. Y to get out. Okay, so we're inside the dead zone there. Now let's go to the right joystick. Okay, we're inside it. I can probably come down a little bit. So I guess these are going to have their own. You know, every joystick's going to have its own. Oops. Dead zone from the factory, and so yeah, I think that's where we're going to leave it right there. So you tweak it in. So yours might be better, mine's or worse. Let's see what I want to do. Let's try. Let's just try this game real quick. Take it out of the case so it's not burning up or anything. And as far as feel go, they do. I think they feel a little bit different than the originals, but not tremendously so. Just slightly. Turn this down. I've not played this game. It's pretty awesome. It's not probably the best for this test, but it's one I know loads up quickly and works pretty well. Okay. But yeah, so let me try Rocket League real quick, because that's probably the next game that I'm most familiar with the sticks and things. You can see how bad I am at Rocket League. That'll be fun. Zoom out just a little bit here. Rocket League takes forever to load. All right. This is my really ugly car. Like I said, not very good, and it's kind of hard to play like this instead of it being right up on your face, like I normally have it. But as far as the joysticks go, man, they actually feel, I'd say, a little bit better. Not tons. I wouldn't rush out and buy one of these if your joysticks are fine. If they work okay. The fact that I wasn't able to change my dead zone that much probably has something to do with the fact that it's not that much different. So I'm not gaining a ton based on dead zone. Yeah, terrible. I'm terrible. Not very good on the Steam Deck too because of the smaller screen, but being this far away from the screen is even worse. All right, so that's pretty much it. That was the stream. If you have any questions about the process, reach out, and I'll let you know what I think. Thanks, guys.